So if you could give us an explanation of what this case is all about, what is being alleged by the state?
Sure. So this is the first case to be brought by New York State under its new terrorism laws, alleging that our client Ahmed Ferhani attempted or intended or conspired to engage in various terrorist activity in New York and in Palestine. The irony of this is, of course, this was another case of entrapment, but not by the FBI, but rather by the NYPD. And the FBI made some really interesting statements about what they thought about the veracity of the undercover who set up this case, and in fact condemned the NYPD for prosecuting this case for various reasons. And we expect at some point to receive a report from the FBI as to why they didn't take this case and why the AUSA's office sought to not prosecute it. Now, the undercover had been implanted in various Arab, Muslim, and Palestinian organizations over a course of approximately 2 years.
When you say the undercover, you mean the undercover agent?
Yeah, the undercover cop, who is an actual cop from the Intel division, was implanted in various organizations in the Arab, Muslim, and Turkish community and the Palestinian community for several years. And it seems to us that because he was unable to find anything incriminating about these people who were doing nothing more than asserting either their right to free worship, association, and free speech, that he latched onto Ahmed Ferhani and concocted this whole, plan that didn't ever materialize, but is so vague you can't ascertain what exactly it is that he's alleged to have planned to do, other than to purchase guns, which the undercover informed him he could purchase at anywhere between $50 and $100, and these are guns worth $20,000 to $30,000. Beyond that, Ahmed Ferhani is well known to the NYPD since he was about 17 years old, because since that time the NYPD themselves have been picking him up from his home and taking him over to East Elmhurst, where he was being institutionalized for mental health reasons for weeks at a time. So not only is this a disgusting case of entrapment that arises from the illegal intelligence operations of the secret demographics unit that was unveiled only through the Associated Press leaks, but it's a targeting, again, of the most vulnerable people in the community in an effort to try to justify their surveillance and attacks, intimidation, and repression of the Arab and Muslim communities and the activist communities, right?
Now, wasn't there another defendant in this case?
Yes, there was a co-defendant, and we don't know what's happening with him, but we believe he's now, agreeing to some plea deal. Our client is not interested in any plea deal. Again, we strongly believe that this is a case of entrapment, a case brought only to justify the operations of the intelligence unit.
Now, where is this person from? Is he an American citizen? Was he born here?
He was born in Algeria, and he came to the U.S. as a refugee. In fact, a refugee seeking asylum on the grounds that his family was being persecuted or sought to be persecuted by various Islamist elements in Algeria at the time. He never had the wherewithal or the mental stability to apply for citizenship. The rest of his family are citizens. He's still a green card holder, but he grew up in New York, in Queens, where he was institutionalized for about half his life.
And so the police allege that he was going to bomb a synagogue, is that right? Well,
we don't know. That's part of the allegation, but they never say which synagogue, they never say when or how or where or how many, right? It's just this vague, it's a situation where the undercover keeps telling him you've got to use these words to get what you want, right? You have to say it's for the cause, you have to say it's this in order to get these weapons that, he clearly intended to flip, right, to sell at a sizable profit. Right? These are weapons worth on the street, God knows, 20, 30, I'm not an expert, $40,000, that up until half an hour before the sale of these weapons were going for $50, right? And when he finally managed to go get another $50 to make it an even 100 for this, he shows up to the other undercover who sells him the weapons, and the undercover himself who sells the weapons throws in a grenade for free. I kid you not, he threw in a grenade for free. He said, "Oh, did you forget? Here's the grenade, it's for free."
Let me ask you about what happened today. You tried to get the whole case dismissed. That didn't happen.
Well, we had filed motions to dismiss the case for constitutional reasons, right? Attacking the new statute itself and attacking the underlying facts and elements alleged to give rise to the charges on the grounds that they were very vague and that there wasn't a prima facie sufficiency to sustain the charges. And we didn't expect that we would be successful on these motions, only because there isn't any judge these days willing to actually look at the Constitution, look at the complaints, and really hold, especially in these terrorism cases, that there's just either insufficiency or unconstitutional vagueness or broadness involved. So we didn't actually expect that they would be granted, but they needed to be made, certainly, and they were denied. Our bigger issue and demands were our demands for discovery, right? We want to know how and why and who authorized the targeting of Ahmed Ferhani for this entrapment, right? Not just for surveillance, but for this entrapment. What were their grounds? They knew he had a petty criminal record. They knew he was mentally ill. Why did they target him? When did they decide to target him? That's really the crux of our case, because our defense is entrapment. And for us to, once we establish that as a defense, it's the prosecution's obligation to disprove entrapment. It's not our burden, it's their burden to disprove entrapment and show that there was no misconduct on the part of the NYPD, which I think they're going to be very hard pressed to do.
And then lastly, there was something where you yourself come in today about communications, and the defendant's lawyers were unhappy with that. What was that about?
Well, since the inception of this case, they've sought to limit my ability to represent Mr. Ferhani, initially by claiming that there was some conflict which was manufactured by their own office and agents, right, by the NYPD, and now they're claiming that because I happen to be Arab, Muslim, and a community organizer, that I know all of this information that they have, and thus we are not entitled to the discovery that we're demanding. They also made some really outrageous allegations. I wouldn't even call them allegations, outright lies about what we know about the case. Again, also simply to shirk their obligation to provide us with the discovery that's owed both under the statute and under the constitutional law. And so they've sought, or they thought, that I would be an easy target for them by virtue of being Arab or Muslim, that they could intimidate me, that they can prevent me from continuing to represent Mr. Ferhani, that they can limit my ability to communicate with Mr. Ferhani, and they not attempted but actually did outright access counsel communications between me and Mr. Ferhani in a very, very arrogant and pathetic and failed attempt to attribute some type of knowledge, to attribute some type of suspicion to me and my role in this case. It's an outrage. We expect and call on the judge to address it, to make the prosecution behave in the way that they are constitutionally obligated to behave, and not like a bunch of thugs, which is what they're doing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.